So I just want to welcome everybody to the 180 journey, and we're gonna go ahead and keep it raw and uncut, and just have a candid conversation.
Absolutely.
You know, we're just gonna let it flow as it pertains to this conversation and any conversations moving forward. So with that being said, I just want to welcome my brother Hamzah to the podcast.
Appreciate you.
My man served 17, myself 21. 22 if you want to include that work release and that GRE.
Hmm.
But, I digress. So, what I'd like to do, man, is I would just like you to introduce yourself to the people, man, and let them know about who you are and HarderLife DreamWorks. And I'm going to give you the stage, man.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
Yeah, my name is Hamza. I appreciate you definitely for having me on here. I just got done recently serving 17 and a half years incarcerated. I've been out for 2 years. And then I landed upon photography and videography. So Harder Life DreamWorks is, it's a photography business and, cinematography, videography. And yeah, it's something that I enjoy doing, perfecting my craft and skill. And I'm just happy to be on the podcast.
Man, I'm happy to have you, man. Hey,
Absolutely.
first guest on the podcast. You know what
Hey.
I'm saying? Hey, I love it. So, with that being said, man, we're just gonna go ahead and we're just gonna start from the beginning, man. First day out. What did it feel like,
Oh man,
man? What was it?
it felt amazing. It was definitely new. Um, behind bars you're limited. Your freedom is limited. Your visuals is limited. So just that first day of work release, you can kind of say I was still contained, but we was able, to go out and work and be out into the public. And it was definitely an experience. It was very unusual at first, having that much liberty.
Right. Yeah, you already know, man. I didn't know what anxiety was until I touched down after 21 years and was
Absolutely.
dropped off in work release. And like you said, yeah, you're still confined, but you have the ability to move around.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, like, what was it like when you actually were given that check or you were given that opportunity to hit the bank and then kind of move about freely?
Man, it was, man, the first time, touching money in 17 and a half years, actually going to set up a bank account, actually getting paid, more than 45 cents an hour, you know.
Talk to him.
And so
Talk
it
to
was
him.
just, it felt real liberating. It felt good, it made me feel like a man. Uh, and it was definitely an epic part of my journey of liberation.
I love that.
Most definitely.
So let's get back to that 42 cents an hour. We were in there grinding for that 42.
Grinding.
And some individuals struggle out here, to grind for the minimum wage.
Mhm.
In some cases it's 20 bucks an hour, right? I've kind of seen that a lot of individuals find themselves in situations where they're not willing to accept anything less than, right, what they feel their worth is. And I totally agree with that. But coming out and seeing that we have all these opportunities available to us, right? What opportunities presented themselves to you that you took advantage of?
It's just well, I used to work, for a reentry company, and so it's called Level Up Reentry. There's some good people over there,
Yep. Shout out.
and shout out, even though I'm no longer, with them, but they definitely took me under their wing. I was staying, so I graduated from work release to the transition house, over in Tacoma. If y'all from Tacoma, right across the street from Lincoln High School, and they just took me under their wing, and I started doing a program called Account Me In. So it's a program of accountability, and it's early in the morning. We wake up early in the morning. Everybody's on the group call and the group chat, and we would go over our three goals. Saying what we could do to accomplish those goals, whether it's turning in job applications or whatnot. And yeah, so they really came in, and then when I graduated from that program, they hired me on the team because they seen I was consistent, I was reliable, I showed up not only for others, but I showed up for myself. And finally, I got my first apartment
Okay.
through the help of them. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to them. They definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, they helped me. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Man, that's everything right there. You
Yeah.
know, uh, you're dropped down in the community. You got a little access now. You're making those connections. You got your apartment. So you're obviously no longer with that organization. You've started your own and you're on your own path in life right now. You're on your own journey. What does that journey look like now that you're kind of established?
It's it's uh it's still difficult to find your roots, but it's definitely liberating to finally find something that you're passionate about in life. And it's just trying to get certain doors open. Uh and sometimes you want to force them, but as me as you as being men of faith, um we know it's all in divine timing. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited for the future ahead. It's looking bright, and and sometimes I wish it would be easier. But if it was easy, then everybody would be doing it.
Harder Life DreamWorks.
Or
If it
life,
was easier, everybody would be doing it.
everybody
But
would be.
that Harder Life DreamWorks, let's step into that.
Yeah.
Why Harder Life DreamWorks? Why now? And let the people know what it's about, though, for real. Like
So like
what you have to offer.
my first name was I'll give you a backstory. My first name, it was Hustle Harder Life, and so my boss was like, "Man, that's a wonderful name, but the attachment to the word hustle might, you know, certain organizations or businesses might not want to be associated with somebody with hustle harder." And so I came up with a new name, and it was called, I named it Harder Life DreamWorks. And so, the harder and then the life pretty much signifies that, like you have experience, and we came from a hard life, but so we came from the harder life. But when you put your time in, the dream works. And so that's
Love
what,
it.
and so that name just stuck. And I've had people telling me that it still sounds negative, but behind it, if you knew the story behind it, if you knew the history behind it. So I came from a hard life, but now I'm in the process of making that dream work.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, there's no negative connotation there, bro. That's
I love
yeah. Anybody that's watching this is gonna know exactly what we're talking about, specifically what you're talking about. So that path in life obviously led us, down a path that obviously for most individuals, would be something that would break them, right? So speaking to that harder life, right? As far as incarceration is concerned, you served 17 years, and
it.
we
Yeah.
already know that that sentence could break you or it can build you. And I know you, so I already know that it built you.
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate on how it built you into the man you are today based off of your experience through your incarceration?
Yeah. It was, man, I say for the first 2, 3 years, I was still struggling with the fact that, man, I still got 14 years left,
Mm,
13 years left. And I was still struggling with my identity and who I thought I was.
right.
I grew up in the hood. I was running with the gang and, you know, doing things, that I'm not, I was doing things that I wasn't necessarily proud of, but I take accountability and full responsibility. And so, when I got in there, I was getting in trouble and stuff like that, going to the hole. And, I think the pivotal moment for me was when, I went to the hole. One time I did 1 year, next time I did 2 years, that's 24, I mean 23 and 1,
Yes, sir.
you know. And so I had a, like a epiphany, like an awakened in a moment where I woke up and I look in the mirror after doing a workout, didn't like what I seen. And, I literally looked at myself and, I burst in tears and was like, something has to change. If I keep doing the same thing over and over, that's the definition of insanity.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
and then after that, it's been a wrap ever since, building those blocks.
So what I love about what I love about this, and like a lot of people probably won't get the correlation, right? But you and me had the same exact epiphany sitting in the same exact spot, having that same conversation with ourselves in the mirror. And that's that paradigm shift, right?
Mhm.
That's where we start to understand that the individual that we are or were is never going to get us to the places we want to go in life. And you spoke to the accountability aspect. And I love that more than anything because I never want to play a victim because I take responsibility for my actions
Right.
as you have. And I've watched you grow. And that's the one thing I love so much about you, right? Is your consistency. You're showing up daily. Like I'm running laps around the yard and I always seen you, you know what I'm saying, the same spot getting your
Yeah.
money, right? So can you speak about how that consistency and how you showing up every day inside has transitioned to you, moving forward outside.
Yeah. It took a lot of time. And, you know, like I said, where you're spinning laps, running, I'm over there doing my dips, pull ups, or burpees. Honestly, 75% of the time I didn't even want to be out of there. But, I learned, and some days I struggle, some days even out here, I almost want to do nothing, but I learned to move on purpose and not my mood.
Talk to them.
And so that transferred out here. Sometimes I had to do things that I didn't want to do, but I knew if I just stood still, nothing was going to get done. You can't get results from doing nothing. Even if it's just 15, 10 minutes a day working on your craft, whatever your niche is or whatever your goals are, or your profession. So that's what I do. And it's transferred over. I've had my rough days, out here. I still have setbacks, but I try to operate on purpose and not purpose and alignment and not how I'm feeling.
Man, I love it. So the one thing I know, like what you're speaking to, is extremely powerful for individuals to understand, right? And we actually had a little conversation about this. We're shooting text back and forth, right? And it's that 1% better every day,
Right.
right? It's just adding value to yourself and to those around you every single day. And of course, we're always going to have those moments where we don't necessarily feel like doing it,
Yeah.
but that's not setting goals, that's setting standards,
Right.
right? And when we live up to those standards that we set for ourselves, we can achieve whatever it is we want to go after,
Absolutely.
right? So, speaking on that, I know your standards. I know they're extremely high. I know the work that you put in on a daily,
Yeah.
right? Would you like to elaborate on, the goals that you're setting for yourself, and the standards that you're going to live up to achieve those?
Some of the I know one of my first, goals that I set for myself doesn't even have to do anything with, me building my business. It was one of the standards to where, I said I could never disappoint and let my mother down again.
Mm,
So I had to rearrange my whole process and in the way that I think, in the way that I view the world, in my perspective. And then, when it just comes to content creation, photography, videography, whatever, I do a little bit of it all, photo enhancement. I'm just a content creator, so I'm just a creative individual, and so my standards could be very high, for those three things that I just stated. And sometimes like I'm not a perfectionist, but I always seek to do things with excellence. So I have a very slow, thorough process, testing, retesting, failing. But like how we always say, as long as I'm failing forward and as long as I put my head on the pillow and I know that, okay, that video didn't turn out 100%, but it turned out 70%.
Right.
And I know what I can do to make it better. And so it's just like setting those high standards for myself before I can even expect any type of high standards from anybody else.
Okay. I mean, let's be clear. I already know your standards, bro,
Let me
and
humble.
they're extremely high, right?
Yeah,
You could be humble in this situation, but I'm speaking to you because I know you, right?
absolutely.
And I know your standards, right?
Mm,
And the funny thing is like how you speak about those standards, and you spoke
mm,
about family in general
mm.
earlier, right? And how you
Yeah.
set a standard for yourself. I think that comes back full circle when it comes to accountability for individuals that are on the inside. And when they come out, I think part of their success lies in the fact that they know that they're not incarcerated by themselves, that they incarcerated their family and their loved ones,
Mm,
right? And those standards that you set for yourself based off of never wanting to disappoint your mother again. I feel the same way. It's like, those standards they're so high, man. It's like, I don't even know if I can achieve them, but I'm going to continue to try and achieve those.
yeah, absolutely.
So, with those standards that you've set for yourself, I'm going to lead in with this one. What does 2026 look like for you?
That's a good. I think 2026 it looks a little more intense than 2025. Uh, I think it's a year of triumph. I think it's a year of elevation. I think it's gonna look like me really walking and stepping into my purpose, uh, meeting new people, making new connections, uh, building new bridges. I think it's going to be a tremendous year of growth. Not only for my craft, but
Yeah,
for the few individuals I keep around me, family members. I think it's going to be. I think 2026 is going to blow all of our minds.
man,
Honestly, I'm looking forward to that.
you ain't the only one, right? Where
Absolutely,
are we
bro.
going to be at this time next year? That's based on the work that we put in, the standards that we set for ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. So I've seen some of your projects, man, and
Hmm.
I absolutely, I'm your number one fan, bro. Period, point blank. I know you got some high standards as far as fans are concerned, but
Hmm.
I'm most definitely your number one fan. Can you uh, can you kind of elaborate on some of the projects that you want to put out in 2026?
Man, so there's so many of them. I definitely want to start working on more documentary work. uh Social media, I do a lot of highlight reels. It can be of my travels, journeys. I've done some from level up reentry for their cohorts, but I think I want to just really get deeper
Okay.
and deeper into certain issues. um you can call them political issues, or because we come from a lived experience background. So you know as we talked about, I want to dive into other people's stories
Yes,
and
sir.
highlight voices that you know they want to speak, but they don't have a voice to speak to themselves. That's why a lot of times, even in my social media reels or posts, I always say through my lens. Check out my world through my lens. And so in
Yeah,
2026, I want to dive a little bit deeper into certain issues that need to be addressed.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And I'll say for those watching, the audience, stay tuned.
stay
Yeah,
tuned.
because there's going to be some cool projects coming through in 2026, and that's a fact.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Facts.
already know.
Mhm.
So what I'd like for you to do, man, is just let the people know, like what it is that you feel that they can do, or give them a little encouragement, man. for that new 2026 self, right? What does it look like for an individual, that may be struggling, man, just coming out of the system, right? Like, my guy, you've been 2 years. I'll be honest, the ankle monitor just got cut 7 months ago, man, and I feel
Mm.
like we're winning. Like,
Mhm.
I'm telling you, bro, I feel like we're winning. So,
Absolutely.
what kind of encouragement can you give for some of our brothers and sisters that are stepping out or maybe out right now that are struggling to move in the community?
Uh, you know, I could say that one of the first things that's essential for me, and it might not be for others, but to really guard and protect your associations,
Mm,
because as a saying said, you don't even got to tell me who you are. I'm gonna watch who your friends are. If you look like a duck, quack like a duck, it's a duck. And so you have to maintain these positive affinities and associations around you. And then, you got to have, like how you always say, you know, how you always tell me, you have to have grace with yourself. That's why they say trust the process.
yes, sir.
And you're going to fail. You're going to fail at something, but it doesn't mean that, it's the end. And so you just have to keep pushing forward with determination. Find something that you like to do: work out, hiking, photography, art. You might like making jewelry. Find something that you love. That may take time, but also don't really hinge on the opinions of others. And you also have to be ready for the people that knew the old you,
Right.
the people that knew the old you. So they're not used to this evolved being.
Talk to me.
He's faking the funk, or
Right.
he's putting on the show, but you're not putting on the show. You just grew. And
Right.
sometimes you got to understand, the hardest thing for me even now is realizing it's okay to outgrow people, and I'll leave it at that.
No, I couldn't agree with it more, man.
Mhm.
Sometimes, as sad as it is, you gotta love those from a distance,
Yeah.
right? That you knew from the past. Because the sad part is, man, and I hate to say this, is when they go looking for you under them same trees, you're nowhere to be found, right?
No,
There's
no,
not even a footstep, right? They can't track you, right?
absolutely not.
And the sad part is that's because they're under the same trees. And it's like after all this time, you've evolved, so they can't believe, that you could have actually accomplished the things that you've accomplished or be in the situations that you're in based off of who you were, because they don't know who you are now.
Exactly.
But that comes down to the work that you've put in, right? I think that again, these conversations are going to continue. We're going to continue to push out, as much content as we can to uplift, like I said, our brothers and sisters that are struggling out there, and highlight the stories of individuals that don't have a voice, right? And
Yeah.
like I said, stay tuned because
Stay tuned.
we got some work, coming up, and
Yeah, we
I
got
and I,
work to
I'm
do.
really I'm really looking forward to that.
Me too, bro.
So what I'd like you to do, man, is just give one last word of encouragement to the people watching, and let them know, man. Let them know what they need to know in order to succeed.
Uh,
In the situations they're in.
Man, uh, stay consistent. Stay focused. You know, don't feel bad for being selfish with yourself,
Mm,
especially when you're just coming out, or if you're just coming out, even if you've been out and you're just coming out from a adverse situation. Like, take your time to heal. Have grace. Believe in yourself. Like, because trust me, man. Like, nobody. Sometimes not even close family members. They're not gonna believe. They're not gonna believe in you. So you got to be your own cheerleader and find people who see the value in you. Be around people who see your potential before you even see your potential,
mm,
that encourage you, that inspire you, that help you, that give you constructive criticism instead of telling you, oh man, this idea is far fetched. You're never gonna believe in that.
Yeah.
Or you're never gonna be able to do that. Like, why would you do this? And honestly, man, like let your intuition guide you. If something don't feel right, if that job don't feel right, if that group don't feel right, you know, listen.
Yes,
You
sir.
know what I'm saying? And I think most of all, be brave. Be brave.
Man, I
And shoot
appreciate
that
it.
and shoot that shot because all the shots you never take, you're saying you miss.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
and I'm not acting like I'm the greatest or I'm the best. I'm a human being, but I just got like I'm calm, but I got like that lion's will. Like I'm never ever gonna give up. The whole world can turn their back. I don't care. I'm gonna be successful. I believe I'm somebody, and it's just based. And my value is based on what I've been through and how I'm still overcoming. So don't let nobody tell you that you can't be successful in whatever that you're pursuing. Don't even listen to it. Put some
Yes,
earplugs
sir.
in.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All I can say, man, is wise words. Man. And again, I appreciate you for coming on
Appreciate
here,
you.
man. I
Come on,
truly
bro.
do, man. I just want to let everybody know, man, that HarderLife DreamWorks, bro, it's got some projects coming out. Man, I want you to stay tuned. I'm gonna link his descriptions in the bottom.
Come
That
on.
way you can hook up with him, and that you can partner with him. Because like I
Work.
said, my man's dope. He's
Yeah,
putting
let's
out those
work.
projects. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, it'll be linked in the bottom in the descriptions, and I want you to hit my guy up. This is the 180 journey, man,
Come
and
on.
it's all about that turnaround, man.
Hey,
Stand tall, man. We'll talk to y'all later.
talk to y'all later.
All
Appreciate you,
right.
bro.
Yes, sir.